and today we're going to be talking about tips and ideas and different things that I've come up with over building these things in the last couple of years, and use some of the ideas that I came up. Maybe they can help you, maybe they can't, I don't know. But I'm going to be using this roll of masking tape that I got from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to be using this stick, and I'm going to be using these fairy lights that I got from Home Depot. Now, I can show you a little tip later on how to print sculptures using a halfway doing it, but that's another story. The other thing I want to talk to you about is line size. 0.5 is the lowest I'll go. We use a 0.4 nozzle, and if you take 0.3 and make your line, then it looks good on paper and it looks good in the design, but you're going to have it disappear. The largest you should go is 0.8. If you go to 1.5, you're going to see that the window doesn't look really right. It looks bulky. It looks like it's a toy. But if you want to make it look real, 0.5 is your limit. And the other thing about windows and doors, always try to think of it on the most flattest side. When I make a window or door for a building, I make a flange on the outside of it, okay? So that that wall has something to hit against. And then the detail, or like just like in real life, it would be like a reveal or like casing. It would have the outer casing and then the inner casing. And that's the way I design my windows. So now all my windows have a flange on the inside, and it's perfect for that because then I can get my lights to work perfectly. Don't worry about whether the lights on your window, which are talking about those plus signs or whatever, those lattices things. Don't try to reveal those. Don't try to set those up higher, like 0.5 or 0.2. Don't do it. Print them flat. You're not going to see that kind of detail. Now, you could, like in the church that I did at Trinity Church, I was able to actually, when printing flat, like I said, and bringing the reveal up this way, I was able to make a little reveal on the top of the window so it looked like a double hang. And it came out really, really nice. But if you want to see that, I can show you that in another video. That Trinity Church, by the way, was one of my best challenges I ever did. I was able to actually create stained glass windows using paper. And it really blew my mind how it came out. And I've even used that in one of my other displays for an anniversary gift I made for me and my wife. It was for the Beard and Lady, I think it's called, and somewhere over by Arkansas. Anyway. So, but you can do that if you want, but I wouldn't go no thicker than 0.5. You can go as high as you want, but the idea is to print everything flat and then work your way up. And there's a reason for that. The less supports you have in your building, the better it's going to look. Because if you print out a nice building and you can't put in your windows and doors, you just kind of shove them in there, or they're too tight and you have to scrape them down or scrape the opening, you're not going to get that same perfection you could get as if you printed it right the first time. It's just the facts. Painting and finishing. And I might be able to do that here, but that's where this stick comes in. And then that's where this roll of tape comes in. Now, everybody, or not everybody, most of the people on YouTube say when we print miniatures and things like that and doing the statues, they want you to use blue tack or black magic tack or, little clips, alligator clips they use for electrical wires. And then to hold your fine parts, or maybe make a little stand with a little bunch of blue tack on it, and then you just do your fine painting. We don't do that with the buildings. It's a whole different ball game for us. So I came up with this way of doing it without going into the miniatures and everything else in the statues and holding down my parts to be sprayed. Another tip I'm going to be talking about is painting. I can talk about this right now. When you do your lighting on your buildings, because we're working with PLA, it's a translucent material, especially when it comes to white. I don't care if you print it in black. It's not going to be totally opaque. So your best bet, in the old days, they used to do this a lot with the plastic kits and the mold injected ones anyway. A lot of the guys would paint the inside of their building black, and that way the light would not penetrate, and they used a thick acrylic paint. And then that way the light would not penetrate through the walls, but only penetrate where the windows are, and it gives it a really nice effect, where you can actually see the roof bleeding through and stuff, and you'll get an idea what I'm talking about. Lightings. And the Harbor Freight sells these fairy light kits, and I'm not sure, they're like $9, $7 something. You can buy them cheaper if you get them after Christmas sales. But these are the same fairy lights that all the Christmas displays, or fairy lights they call them. These are little SMDs. These are the tiniest little LED that you could possibly find. and they work really well with the 470 ohm resistor. That's all I use in all my buildings. So if you're buying a ready-built kit from me, sometimes I use conventional 3mm, but most of the times I like these because these make nice lights for overhangs in buildings like I did in the Northwest Depot, and they're just tiny. Take this enamel, burn it off with a small butane lighter, which is actually like a handheld lighter, and then sand it down so I can get good contact. And these work fantastic. And you have an endless number of them. You can see that they're all wrapped up around here. In some of my experiments, I've even used the controller just to get the lighting effect for like what I did the Polar Express. Don't be afraid to use ChatGTP to ask it questions. I use ChatGTP when I take a real size building, say it's 130 feet by 40 feet or 60 feet or 80 feet or whatever, a factory, let's say. And I say, can you scale this down to me in millimeters? Well, ChatGPT can do that. It can scale it down into millimeters in N scale for me. It explains it a little bit, but don't worry about that. You don't need to use that model or scaler anymore or figure out the mathematics of it, which you had to do in the old days before we had the AI. The AI also helped me to learn how to make a wash. And my washes are what I use on that power plant. And people have expressed, I should say, how pleased they are with the weathering technique and how realistic it looks. Well, that's because of the wash. And the wash, there's no secret to it. It's basically mixing acrylic paint with a little bit of, I use this, matter of fact, I can probably show you right here. I use this Equate Baby shampoo, and I use a little bit of water and a little bit 90% rubbing alcohol. And I mix it all up until it gets like a really watery consistency. And then what I'll do is I'll take a piece of plastic, spray it with Krylon, would be the bricks or whatever for the power plant. I do a sample, okay? I take my wash and I make sure and I put it on there and I test it to see if it's consistent enough to stay on there. And don't worry if it overbleeds because you'll be amazed. I've got pictures to show you. Matter of fact, I did some examples of that, of really wet. It was on there on the brick. And then after it dried, my gosh, it looks realistic. And that's the latest ready-built power plant that I've got. And this time I did it with blue windows. Well, as I was talking to you earlier, this would be the little demonstration of using this stick and using this Dollar Tree masking tape. And here are some parts. A bit over for you. So it's real simple. All I do is take the masking tape like this, pop a piece off, turn it over, and then I just tape it to the board like that. See? Then I take the extra tape here on this side, put it on there, stretch that tight, wrap it around, and now I have a nice sticky surface. Now watch how this works. So we're going to get ready to spray paint these as pretend. And this is how I do it. So it sticks really good. Okay, now watch this. See? You can spray, 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 and you can cover all that, and it doesn't fall off. The other thing I wanted to show you is using this Harbor Freight SMD lights, or fairy lights they call them, right? And what I do is I take the little nipper here, and these are what they call SMDs. And I just click the top. I don't know if you can see that or not, if it'll focus on that. It might not. There it goes. Okay, and then what I do is I take and I spread these out like this. So they're separate. Okay. And I have two, and I don't know what's negative and positive. I don't need to know what this positive. I just need to get them separate. And then I'll take a butane lighter that you can get at Harbor Freight like this, and I'll just go ahead and heat those up till they burn a little bit. Then I'll take my sandpaper, and I'll come in there with the sandpaper, and I'll just work my way around. Make that so it's bigger, like that, and three kind of a circle. It's hard to see all this at the same time in this low lighting, but anyway, I'll show it to you. Then I wanted to show you, now we have the SMD in there, and then I designed this little tester that I use, and just has a regular 3-volt cell battery. It's 2032, and I hook it up to this switch right here, which has 2 leads on it. And then this way, I use this to tell me what's positive and negative. And just to show you how when you clean it, it's clean because it makes contact. There you go. And that little SMD light right there works really, really good on our N-scale layouts. And then I would use these in my cantilever lights, or signal lights, or warning lights, or stop lights, or whatever. Hope this helps. And then please like and subscribe and share. Thank you for watching these videos.